Thank you for listening to the Matt's Movie Reviews podcast, available on iTunes, Spotify, Podbean, and Stitcher. Also, please follow Matt's Movie Reviews on Facebook, YouTube, Parler, and Instagram. And of course, be sure to visit www.mattsmoviereviews.net for the latest reviews, top 10 lists, and more. Now, on to the show.
We're following the breaking news out of Haiti. The largest, most powerful earthquake in the region's history has crippled the country.
There's no hospital, no electricity, nothing.
Many of you know better than I do what we're about to face, which is likely total chaos. If anybody needs certainty on when and how they're getting out of Haiti, maybe not a good idea to go.
There's one golf course in all of Haiti, and it was the only empty green space for people to go from their collapsed houses, and 35,000 people were there within days.
Shawn. Standing out the MRE to help in the 82nd Airborne today, which is making it a lot less chaotic.
If you're thinking to yourself, who can I get to run a camp for 50,000 people in Haiti? Oh yeah, Sean Penn, that'll be the guy. You know, you'd be laughed out of the room, but you know what? He did.
Hello and welcome to the Matt's Movie Reviews podcast. I am your host, Matthew Pejkovic, and this is episode number 343. Releasing May 6th on Discovery Plus is Citizen Penn, a documentary that presents the humanitarian efforts of Oscar-winning actor Sean Penn in Haiti after an earthquake in 2010 devastated the Caribbean nation. An example of boots-on-the-ground documentary filmmaking told with heart and passion, Citizen Penn also explores the topic of celebrity activism that continues to be a polarizing topic today. And joining me now on the Matt's Movie Reviews podcast is the director of Citizen Penn, Don Hardy. Don, thank you so much for your time today.
Oh, thanks, Matt. I appreciate it. Happy to be here.
So in the movie, Sean Penn talks about how he got himself involved in the relief effort in Haiti. He finds himself alone for the first time in years. His kids have moved out to home, turns on the TV, and there is the news about that Haiti earthquake, and he finds himself inspired to do something about it. What about yourself, Don? How did you kind of get involved with this kind of whole process and relief efforts over in Haiti? How did that work for you?
Yeah, for me, it was knowing Shawn a bit. I had been fortunate enough to connect with him a few years prior to the earthquake through a mutual friend, and I was putting together a film called Witch Hunt about the wrongful convictions and incarcerations of this group of people, and my friend thought that Shawn would be interested in it because he had recently done the film Dead Man Walking, mm-hmm. and was interested in issues of justice and fairness. And so he connected us, and Shawn agreed to narrate the film and executive produce the film, which was a really big moment for myself and my filmmaking partner on that project, Dana Nachman. It was our first attempted independent documentary filmmaking. We'd been journalists prior to that.
Yep. And
for a guy like Shawn to believe in us and put his name and star power into it, it meant a lot. It goes without saying. It really helped push that film out into the world. And in the years after it, I stayed in touch with Shawn and happened to be with him a couple days after the earthquake in Haiti happened, as he was frantically trying to coordinate flying a plane full of supplies and medical personnel and volunteers to Haiti. So I saw him coordinating that effort, and I couldn't go with him in that moment because of obligations back home. But soon after, saw him on CNN talking about everything that was going on that he was seeing on the ground. And so I offered to help document it. So that landed me and a couple of my friends in Haiti, and we just started filming and taking photographs and trying to push things out to the news networks to keep Haiti in viewers' eyes. and to show what was happening, this historic coming together of people from all over the world rushing to Haiti to help, and one of them, being Sean Penn. So we just started documenting it that way, and that was my way into Haiti, and ultimately, a country that I really am quite fond of, and spent a lot of time there. It's probably the country I spent the most time in, other than the USA.
When you're there documenting this and you're filming everything, when does the experience kind of become a movie? When did you know that this will kind of form itself in the shape of a documentary?
Well, really, very quickly. I mean, what I saw was unlike anything I'd seen before in my travels as a journalist and as a filmmaker. Just this spirit of running towards disasters, trying to help and trying to coordinate and get things set up to make life a little bit more livable for the people there. It just seemed like what was unfolding in front of my eyes was a documentary. It just needed to be presented in that way. But Shawn certainly didn't see it that way in those days, and he was very focused. He's a very mission-driven person, and he was very focused on just getting, the camp that his organization ends up running, making sure they have what they need, and they're working towards getting them out of harm's way as the rains were coming soon. And so there was a relocation effort, and he was focused on all of those things, as he should have been. So I wasn't going to push him at all on it. I just kept going about filming and collecting footage and helping, I did some like fundraising things for his organization, just, with the footage that I was collecting. But I always had an eye on, hopefully someday it could turn into a film, because I felt like what was happening was really unprecedented.
Don, when you land in Haiti, what's the first thing that still sticks with you that you remember from that experience? Is it just the overwhelming sense of what's happening there? Was there anything particular that still sticks with you from that time?
Definitely. It was, the whole country was flattened.
Yeah.
There was rubble and collapsed buildings and everywhere. And we drove by this one hospital in particular that had pancaked. I believe it was a 7-story hospital. And just thinking about that, thinking about the time of day that the earthquake happened, which was right around 4:30 and 5 o'clock. And as people were getting ready to probably leave their jobs for the day, but then their buildings collapsed on top of them. And yeah, I can see it very clearly, just how devastated it was. The roads covered in rubble, people still walking around in a bit of a daze. There was even still some bodies on the streets. And this was a couple months after the earthquake when I first sat down there. And so I can't really imagine, only in the footage that we have in the film and the recollections of the people that I've met, can you even contemplate what it was in the day after or the week after. It must have been just impossible to take in.
There's an interesting analogy made in the film, and that's something I've heard in subsequent interviews, in that in a certain way, the kind of getting boots on ground, establishing tents, etc., for emergency relief is somewhat compared to being on a movie set. Is that something that you agree with as well? Because it's something I heard Shawn talk about, and I never thought of it that way. But him being himself being a filmmaker and producer of independent films, and yourself being an independent documentary filmmaker, I imagine I could see the parallels there. Is that something that you found as well, looking back at that?
Yeah, he does say it, and he never compares the stakes of it, a movie to getting people out of harm's way, but just I think people in this line of work are probably uniquely suited, because making a documentary or making a feature film like Shawn does, there's so many decisions within decisions, and you have to make the best decision with the information you have in the moment. So we probably are pretty well suited for disaster environments, at least in that immediacy phase. And as Shawn says in the film, there was a moment when they kind of transitioned from that disaster relief into development, where he realized that he was way out of his depth. And he had to transfer to more experienced people, still very connected to it, but have different leaders come in that understand that development world and how to go after big grants and the things that'll help an organization sustain and continue to do good work. But in those immediate, probably year and a half, 2 years after the earthquake, the skill sets that he's developed over the 40 plus year career he has, I think served him well. And also the naivete that he had to the ways of disaster relief. It wasn't, so many of these big organizations, they're tough. They're like the big cargo ship that's really tough to turn. But a small organization like Shawn's had that ability to move quickly and address the needs of the people right then, and not have to go to some big board of directors decision to do. And I think that's one thing that really allowed them to be effective in those first couple of years.
I've always found Sean Penn to be an incredibly fascinating person. He has kind of like this kind of gruff exterior, but underneath there's a person with like a lot of compassion, which I always found about him. It's really funny. I listened to an interview he did. I think it was on the Howard Stern show like 10 months ago, and there's this quote from him that still sticks with me, where he says, he loves humanity, but sometimes he just hates humans. And I think it's something that's like, I can really see him saying that. You having spent so much considerable time with him and having worked with him, he helped you with your documentary career early on. What's something about Sean Penn that has surprised you over the years, that maybe you had a perception of him beforehand that kind of just is not there anymore?
Well, I think anytime you spend some time with somebody and you separate the legend from the person, and Shawn is that person in a lot of ways, the person that you think, he smokes, he does have the gruff exterior, he does speak his mind, but he's also a real human being. And he is affected by the things that he sees and hears, whether it's about him or, about people that he loves and cares about. He's a real guy. I don't know, I'm not in Hollywood, and I don't know a lot of famous people, so I don't have a huge frame of reference. But with him, what I've found over the 15 years or so that I've known him and spent some time with him is that he's just, if he says he's going to do it, he does it. He shows up. I guess, the cliche is he walks the walk. And I've certainly seen it in Haiti. And then over the past year, I've seen it so much here in the United States, as his organization is now branched out into COVID-19 testing and vaccinations.
Yeah.
So I spent some time with him here. I'm in Northern California, and he was in Oakland setting up a site there. And he's having these conversations with the local leaders about the best way to set up this walk-up clinic, because it's in East Oakland and many of the residents there don't have cars. And so how can you do a walk-up and keep everybody safe? And it just really it took me back to Haiti and the same kind of conversations he was having there with the local leaders about how to clear the streets. He's listening and he's taking it in. He's not going in and saying, I'm the expert and this is what to do, which is kind of surprising when you have somebody that's been so successful in so many different acting, directing, the works. You figure he's going to come in there and say, it's my way or the highway, and that just isn't what I've seen.
I was mentioning my introduction in regards to celebrity activism is still something that's a very kind of polarizing topic even today. And, Sean Penn has definitely taken his fair share of criticism over the years in regards to political opinions, etc. But to me, the whole aspect of a celebrity being an activist or involved politically, I think could be a very positive thing if the intentions are true and the hard work is done. And clearly we've seen in Haiti all the work that's been there for over 11 years now, and the establishment of core And for people who don't know what that is, that's a non-profit organization called the Community Organized Relief Effort, which, as you said, has now transitioned to kind of domestic things now with COVID testing, etc. What's your kind of opinion on the whole kind of celebrity kind of activism thing? Are you in the same kind of like wavelength as me in that as long as the work is done, as long as the intention is true, it doesn't really matter who is doing, trying to bring awareness to an issue, just as long as the issue is addressed and the work is done to try to help it?
Yeah, I am of that opinion. I think we have such a complex relationship with celebrity in our country and probably throughout the world. I mean, we in the U.S. don't have the market cornered on celebrity journalism, but we want to build these people up into larger than life, and then we kind of want to tear them down, and then in some cases, rebuild them a bit. But we really want them to stay in their own lane. Keep doing your day job, keep your opinions to yourself.
Yep.
And I find that so strange because they are people just like we're people, and we have opinions, and everybody shares their opinions all over social media and to anybody else that'll listen. So really, why would somebody who's a celebrity be any different? Why should they not share their thoughts? So there's that side of it. And then there's the getting involved side. And I think it gets even more complicated there, because you do have a lot of people that really seem to be in it for the photo op. They're taking on a cause because their publicist says they need to have a cause to support. That doesn't seem like the right way to go for me, but I know that that's out there. But I think if you're somebody like Sean Penn or say Bono or Bill Gates, I don't know, there's so many out there that really have made a profound impact over now decades. You really can't dispute that they're in it for fame and fortune. I mean, Bill Gates, Sean Penn, Bono, they would have been doing fine if they didn't, get involved in all of the causes that they're involved in. So yeah, it's a complicated issue, but I think if the intentions are right, they should, use their power that they have to help affect change.
I agree 100%. There's an interesting aspect to the whole what Sean Penn is doing, and that's kind of like the fundraising aspect to it. And it's clearly something that he needs to do. You need to raise money for this to make the to get to the people of Haiti, and it seems like something he's very uncomfortable with, though. He's not really good with the whole kind of smoochy thing. As we've talked about, he's a very direct person in regards to his communication. And he's made it known very much, even to the people in the rooms of these fundraising events, that, there's some stingy pockets in here and some people need to put some more money where their mouth is, so to speak. Having been, I'm sure you've been at those fundraisers. How real is Sean's contempt for that kind of celebrity kind of thing where as you mentioned before, people just want to try to get the photo of being involved with something, but not really getting involved in something, and him knowing very well that, hey, you've got more zeros in that bank account, and I think you could put a little more in our coffers to help us out with this situation in Haiti.
Yeah, it's very real, and I have been fortunate over the years to be in this gala fundraiser that Sean's organization throws every year, and it's a who's who of the entertainment industry. You have of the tech industry. You've got a lot of people with billions of dollars in this room, and it is the major fundraiser for the organization for the entire year. And Shawn has to go out there and beg friends for money. It's hard. Any of us who've had to do that, maybe do a Kickstarter for a project or something where you have to ask people to support your vision. It's challenging. You're really putting yourself in a vulnerable spot, and he has to do it year after year after year. And people just don't support it at the level that he thinks they should, and he knows that they can. And it's intensely frustrating. And being in that room and kind of cringing when I know he's going to take the stage and he's going to have to do that ask. It's I never really thought that would become a part of the film, but now I'm really glad it's in there because it shows a vulnerable side of him and some of the difficulties in setting up a sustainable organization that you believe is doing so much good, but your opinion isn't necessarily shared amongst your peers. It's it's challenging, but I really do appreciate that part of the film, and I hope viewers will too.
I do too, because it really shows the whole kind of scope of what's happening or what needs to be done. It was really interesting and fascinating to watch that. I loved the title of the movie, Citizen Penn, and I think the goal, the end result that Shawn has in regards to all the efforts that he's doing in Haiti and everything else is to kind of really endorse and try to bring about citizen activism. Um, I from everything I've read about him and having watched his documentary, he does seem like a kind of person who doesn't have time for bureaucracies. He doesn't have time for the politics of the situation. He wants direct action to be done, and he finds that direct action should be done through everyday people, you, me, anyone else. And the title of the film really kind of reflects that as well. Is the hope that someone somewhere will one day watch Citizen Penn and just like Shawn was inspired 11 years ago when he turned on the TV and saw what was happening in Haiti, the day too will be inspired of what Shawn and so many others are doing in Haiti, and themselves become citizen activists? Is that the hope is for the end goal here for this movie?
I think so. I'm always hesitant to say, what somebody should take away from something I've done, but to me, that is the takeaway from this film, that you don't have to have the bank account or the contact list or the be an international, icon like Sean Penn to affect change in your community, to get involved and to get active and hopefully be of some service to others and push the world in the right direction a bit. I think that after the year that we've all had with the pandemic, it's maybe more important than ever that we do roll up our shirt sleeves and get involved. That is certainly what Shawn did here, and he pulled a lot of people along for the ride with him, and many of those people helped teach him how to be a humanitarian or how to be wear any of the hats that he now wears. And I think that we can all do something. So if that's something the viewers can take away, then I'll be very, very happy and feel like I've done my job.
So for everyone out there listening, May 6th on Discovery Plus, Citizen Penn. It's a fascinating documentary. And I just love what you've done here, Don. And I just want to say congratulations to you and to everyone else involved with the film as well. A lot of hard work here. I think it's really important that this story gets out there and everyone sees what it takes to kind of try to bring about change in the world. So Don Hardy, congratulations to you. And I thank you for your time today.
Thanks so much, Matt. I really appreciate the kind words and the conversation.